Hey, high school hockey fans, welcome to the opening edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett, along with the usual panel of Burglar, Bill Jr., Trasher, and Dell. We're not in mid-season form yet, but we'll do the best we can. We have a guest tonight, and Mr. Trasher was able to go out and get us a guest. And Michael, introduce her and talk to her.
Okay.
I ran out of things to
say. Yeah. Tonight we have Brianna Seibel. She coaches with Team Wisconsin in the pre-post, and she is this year coaching with the Stillwater, Minnesota Ponies. Welcome, Brianna. How is it going so far this year?
It's going good. We had a good TW season, so that's always good going into the high school season.
It looked like your team was pretty successful. I think the record listed on the website was like 13-9-8. That's good record. What was the competition that you played against? You play against a lot of good teams?
Yeah, so we actually played, I think, gosh, I don't know. Someone's going to correct me on this if I say it wrong, but we played maybe like 3 of the top 10 teams in the United States, which, if you know anything about Tier 1 hockey, you know that all the Minnesota teams, like the Minnesota elite teams, they're always, like top 10, even top 5. So we played them. We had quite a few weekends up here in Minnesota, and then we played in a tournament. We go down to Illinois and play Mission. They're, again, I think they're ranked number 2 for 19s this year right now. So we played Mission. Yeah, they're number 2. We played Shattuck. They're ranked number 1. We played Elite White, all the Elite League teams. We went up to Detroit, played teams down there, or up in Detroit. We played Gentry. We played Culver. So, yeah, we had a tough season. And actually, I was looking back on the TW website, and it looks like this is the best season that the 19s have had in a long time. So that was awesome for the girls to get, and 8 ties is ridiculous. Just imagine if those could have been wins. We could have really had a good record.
Oh, undoubtedly. Looking at the stat sheet for TW, and there's some very familiar names at the top. Maddie Jablonski from Fox Cities. She won the state title last year with her team, the Stars. Hadley Malcolmson, MJ has seen her play a little bit. She's a very good player. The Knopf sisters, he knows them very well because they play for Rock County. And you have a couple of good goalies in the Pistol and Abigail Severson. Tell us a little bit about some of those players.
Yeah, well, first off, our goaltending this season was ridiculous. I think Pistol was sitting at about a 95%, and Abby was at about a 92, which is like, we played, Shattuck has 20 Division I kids and like 3-4 national team players on it. So if you're going from Wisconsin high school hockey and playing against those kids and able to keep a 95 and a 92, like that's unbelievable. But, we got Maddie, we got Hadley, super great players. We got Annika Horman from Fox Cities too. But what was really cool about our team this year is that we did have a lot of depth. We were actually able to roll 4 lines all season long. And we do have some younger defenders that are actually first year U16s that were playing on our U19 team. And they played awesome. And even the girls that weren't on the stat sheet getting points, they were making huge plays for us and just getting the puck out, getting the puck deep, or back checking really hard and saving a goal, or just penalty killing and blocking big shots. Like all those kids that don't normally, get mentioned or aren't showing up on the stat sheet, they all actually had such a big role. But yeah, Maddie Jablonski had big goals for us. Hadley Malcolmson, super deceptive, just natural goal scorer. Hannah Colpine, she's a new name that you guys will see this year. She actually is a Caps kid, played for the Madison Caps last year, and now she's going to be in the Metro Lynx team this year. Super fast skater, just goes out there and causes trouble for the other team. We got Lindsay McLean, she's from Arrowhead. We just so many like good, hard-working team players, and that's why we had success, is because they just worked so hard, and they were really all about the team and not about themselves.
So let's talk about team. Let's go behind the bench. You are working with a guy that I think MJ knows by the name of Dave Whitting. Tell us a little bit about Dave, and I think Jeff Jablonski is also coaching on that team.
Yeah, so it's funny because every rink that you go into, no matter where we are, Dave knows somebody. We'll be like up in Detroit or like in Canada.
You are so true. You are so right. Go anywhere, he knows somebody.
Yeah. Dave, honestly, you can never say enough good things about him because he's been around the game of hockey longer than I've been alive. But like credit to him because the game keeps evolving and growing and he's been able to keep up with it. But he's just a big team guy, really makes everyone feel included. He has a really good way of relating to the girls, and he's blunt, but he doesn't do it in a personal way, so no one ever takes it personally. He just communicates with the kids really well. And then on the defensive end, we had Jeff Jablonski, and that's Maddie Jablonski's dad, if you don't know. He played Division I hockey somewhere, I don't remember where, but he did a fabulous job with our defenders, in my opinion. Our D, I would say, were some of our most improved players all season long. And like I said earlier, they might not be showing up on the stat sheet, but a lot of the times we were able to hang into these games. You look at our schedule, we weren't scoring a ton of goals, but we weren't getting scored on, and that's credit to like our third, our fourth line, our great goaltending, our defensemen that Jeff is constantly giving them tips every single shift on how we should be doing things, play inside the dots, keep her here, whatever, and at the end of the season you could really see our growth, and our defensemen were really young, and we lost Charlotte back there last year, and she was huge for us. And so those defensemen had some big shoes to fill. But clearly, they came together and did a good job.
Now, I'm sure that moving across the border to coach over in Minnesota, you played for a lot of years over there. You know a lot of people over there. I'm sure it's kind of tough. You built a pretty good rapport with your kids over at Western Wisconsin the last couple of years. How difficult has the transition been, and how is it going for you over at Stillwater?
The transition honestly has not been difficult at all. It's awesome because I have really good kids. We have a full JV team, a full varsity team. We've got a goaltending coach. We've got 3 JV coaches, 3 varsity coaches, and it's led by Mira, and I do not know how to say her last name because she's Finnish, but she was the captain over at the Gophers, and she was on the Finnish Olympic team, and she has done a fantastic job. She's so organized. She is so knowledgeable. So when you're under someone with that type of leadership, I just feel super grateful to get to learn from her and get to, be involved with her. And the other coaches there are also awesome, and the kids are fun. I don't have anyone. I would never even know that it's not where I grew up playing. So.
Well, it's not too far from where you grew up playing, so I mean, it's not like you moved out to North Dakota or something like that. But well, we wish you the best of luck again. You do a great job as a coach for the high school squad and a great ambassador for TW. And one thing I almost forgot about, don't you do something with USA Hockey as well?
Yeah, I am a coach developer for USA Hockey, so that means that I teach the coaching education program classes when I have time. But if you'll be at the one in Wisconsin Dells this weekend, level 2 or 3, I'll see you there. But yeah.
All right. Our guest tonight has been Brianna Seibel, coaching with TWU 19s and the Stillwater Ponies over in the Minnesota Hockey League. Thanks for being with us, Brianna, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, MJ, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, as we got to hear from Brianna Seibel tonight. And we will go ahead and get going with the rest of the show. Always good to have a guest, isn't it, guys? Okay. Maybe.
No, it is. I mean, it adds a little bit, and I'm sure that people just don't want to listen to us.
Right. The farther into the season we go, the more important it is to have guests, because I'm sure people get tired of hearing us babble.
Okay. I would agree. I'll buy that. Okay. We got some game recaps. Burglar and Junior had a little father-son outing at the Gobbler Cup, guys.
Yeah, and being the first game of the year that we both attended, neither of us was prepared for just how cold it was going to be in the Mosinee Ice Arena that day. Because it was 34 outside, but it couldn't have been more than 15 in that rink. We planned on being at the Gobbler Cup on both Friday and Saturday for both days. We both ended up sick on Saturday. So that didn't happen. But we were there Friday to kick off the Gobbler Cup. Opened up with Hayward and the University School of Milwaukee. And it was a pretty close game for the first period or so on the ice. No scoring for 43 minutes. But by the time the third period rolled around, the ice was heavily tilted in the favor of the Hayward Hurricanes. Both Jerzy Pettit and Alex Pietarek were significantly faster than their opponents, and they made the USMD really work. Pietarek had Hayward's only goal of the game with just a few minutes left in regulation. She came up the near side boards, chipped the puck past a pinching defender, and the center ice defender was just too slow getting back, leaving her with about 114 feet of uncontested ice on her way to the goalie, who she beat to give Hayward that 1-0 win in the opener. The Storm followed it up against the Eau Claire area Stars, and that game was close on the scoreboard, but for the first two and a half periods, the Storm really took it to the Stars. The Stars managed 6 shots across the first 2 periods in that game, but in the third period, the ice was tipped heavily in their favor, outshooting the Storm 11-6, and with just under 4 minutes left in regulation, just about 8 minutes left in regulation. The Stars, Lauren Carmody, tied it up to send it into overtime. There was a penalty in overtime that got the Stars fans all hot and bothered because it was a tripping penalty on their goalie, but from where I was sitting, it was well earned. But they managed to kill that off, ending the overtime tied at 2. So it went to a shootout, which I didn't keep stats on because they don't count. But the Storm won the shootout 4-3 overall, setting up the championship game for the next day. The Storm came back and beat Hayward in the championship game 2-0. Macy Steppen and McKenna Kazor had the 2 goals for the Storm, and Eau Claire beat the University School in the consolation game 4-1. So that was the Gobbler Cup in Mosinee. which was, like I said, way colder than I expected it to be. Burglar, how'd you like that, working your camera with no gloves on?
I had one glove on. But anyway, it was good. Well, I kept my hand in my pocket a lot. All four teams, just what we know typically about Hayward, Central Wisconsin, University of Sunoco. Either the team, because it's early in the season, maybe the defenses were working better than their offenses were, because there wasn't a whole lot of offense in either of the two games we saw. There could be, strong defense, which I know these coaches all practice, strong defense, but none of the teams were able to get any sort of action going towards the nets at all. The Hayward goal, it was like the one breakaway opportunity, like Bill said, and it was just, strong defense, not a whole lot of offense in the two games that we saw.
Yeah, it always felt to me like, I don't know, the players were going for the Norman Dale and Hoosiers style of gameplay where you got to make 5 passes before you're allowed to take a shot. Because it just felt like they were trying to make one or two too many shots when they were in the offensive zone, whereas I'm a throw the puck at the net and hope for the best kind of guy. So I was, I think they probably would have been better off just throwing the puck at the net sometimes and hoping for a good rebound rather than trying to make those extra passes. It's too early in the season to be that fine with your passing.
Tell you had a chance to go catch up with Medford taking on the Badger Lightning.
Yes, MJ. I made the trip over to Poppy Waterman Ice Arena in Lake Delton, where Medford had traveled down to take on the Badger Lightning, and figured it was going to be a fairly decent game. Medford this season is kind of in the boat that Badger Lightning was last year, where Medford only had 9 skaters and 2 goalies, compared to the Lightning actually having 15 skaters this year. And it was a very close game, especially through the first 2 periods. Was a 1-goal difference at the end of the first period. Puck was going up and down the ice. Second period, the other team scored one more then and ended up at a 4-4 tie at the end of 2 periods. And the Lightning basically took advantage of their endurance there in the third period, being able to put in 3 straight goals to go up 7-4. Medford come back late, put in a goal, but just too late in the game for them to be able to make a comeback. But Emily Schaefer for Medford Raiders scored 4 of the 5 goals for the Raiders, while the Lightning had a little more balanced attack, had 2 goals from double check on this. Kayla Tapner had 2 goals. Bella Bowden had 2 goals, while Bailey Babcock ended up with 4 assists in the game. Very good game. Lots of scoring if that's what you want to see on the ice. But it was a good game and a good start for the season for both of them. And with that, I'm going to toss it back to you, MJ.
Toss it back to me. All right. Well, I'll see if I can catch it here. Oh, yeah, of course I can. Players of the week, Burglar. We got a boys winner and we have a girls winner. And as we do every week, we go ladies first. So who's our girls winner?
Do we do that every week? I thought we alternated them. But since it's the first one, I'll believe you and we'll go ladies
first.
Okay. On the girls' side then, from the Metro Lynx, Sydney Raths. On Saturday, since, this is our first one, this isn't strictly the following. This is all games played before today. On Saturday the 23rd, she had 4 goals and 4 assists in a 10-3 win over the Icebergs. And the following Saturday, she had a goal and 3 assists in a 14-4 win over Onalaska. So from the Metro Lynx, Sydney Raths is our girls player of the week. On the boys side, we have Max Smith from Amory. Amory, they played after Thanksgiving. On Friday, they played Ashland. They won the game 7-2, and Mr. Smith was involved in all of the scoring. He had 3 goals and assisted on the other 4. And on Saturday, they played St. Paul Highland Park, also won 7-2, and Max Smith had a goal and 3 assists. So providing a big part of the scoring for Amory was Max Smith, our boys' player of the week.
A Division II player also.
Yes, that's true.
We're not going to forget that Division II exists.
Well, it doesn't really count until the once it comes playoff time. Until then, everybody's just, hot. Well, I suppose we have never mind. We'll get to that.
As I was looking here about Sydney Raths, look at the goals that the Metro Lynx scored. 10, 14. This may be a team we keep an eye on this year. It looks like they can fill it up. Granted, these two teams weren't, like the Storm and teams like that, but still, that's a lot of goals. Okay, Junior, I see you're nodding your head. All right, you agree with me. Next week's games of the week. Michael, tell us, what do we got?
All righty. We're going to go from the players of the week, and it sounds like but the only thing that Mr. Smith didn't do was go to Washington. Pretty good effort for him last week. We'll start out with the boys' side, the game of the week next week, and that will be featuring Verona and Madison West. That game will take place at MIA Madison Ice Arena at 7:30 on Friday. And Dell will be down there to report on that early season Big 8 battle. It should be a good one. Verona has historically been very strong. Madison West has been up and down a little bit. They lost a couple of key players. Can't think of the kid's name right offhand. Drew, the really good forward. Alzheimer's is kicking in, but we'll see. That's that Madison battle down there. You can almost sometimes throw out the records because they're pretty tough customers and they play tough against each other. And on the girls' side, it'll be
or else you can throw out the records because they've only played a couple of games so far.
Well, you can do that too. So 0-2 right now isn't that bad, or whatever they're at. And on the girls' side, it'll be Central Wisconsin Storm will be playing at Wisconsin Valley Union. That game will be at IceHawks Arena in Stevens Point. And that is a Tuesday contest at 7 o'clock, and I will be there to cover that game. And that will be also the bench bosses for that game will be 2 former teammates on the coaching staff, Pete Susans for Central Wisconsin and Dan Bauer for Wisconsin Valley Union. So that should be a good one too. Storm has historically been pretty strong. Valley Union, they've lost some players, but they have Pistol Cowden in net. And as Brianna had talked about earlier, she's been lights out this year. So she can definitely, I know Burglar is probably going to shake his head at this one, but possibly steal a game or two. I see you shaking your head there, buddy. So that's what I have. Those are the games of the week for this week, actually. Back to you, MJ.
Pistol Cowden. Is that really her first name?
Her first name is
I was going to say it's Margaret.
Margaret, yeah.
But they call her Pistol.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, she's been a pretty good goalie from the jump. So, and if you have a .950 save percentage against some of the best girls in the United States, you're doing a good job. So that should be an interesting battle. I would almost think that that's going to be a low-scoring game, but I'll watch them make liars out of me, and it'll be like a 7-6 game. So we'll see. But a couple good games for the games of the week this week.
No doubt about it. It's time to move into our final thoughts section. Guys, we're going to discuss two divisions. Seems to be the topic that everybody wants to talk about. And I'll go ahead and leave it out there. Bill or Bill Jr.? Bill, I know you've always got something to say about this topic.
We were both named Bill.
I didn't call you Junior. Okay,
Oh.
Senior.
Okay, okay. Let's start with what do they usually do on these kind of things? Winners and losers from the two division format. Look at an instant winner who planned things appropriately. Fond du Lac St. Mary's Springs. Last year, Fond du Lac St. Mary's Springs was a co-op with St. Mary's Springs, Campbellsport, Kewaskum, Lomira, North Fond du Lac, and Oakfield. Add up all of those schools, and you have a huge student population. Look at how many hockey players they provided. It was probably like one or two each at most. So St. Mary's Springs jettisoned the co-op, and this year they are just St. Mary's Springs, and as such, they are a small school. Had they kept their co-op, they'd have been a large school. The Campbellsport, Kewaskum, Lomira, and Oakfield, those pretty much got split up between Fond du Lac and Oshkosh. Oshkosh, not really a strong program, but their co-op with, Oshkosh North and Oshkosh West and Ripon, and they're already big enough that they're going to be Division I regardless. They're a fledgling hockey program, but large co-op base, so they're Division I. You look at another program that's, tiny populations. You're talking Barron, Chetek, Cumberland, Shell Lake, and Spooner. They play under the banner of the Northwest Icemen. Typically not one of your stronger programs. Last year in the final rankings, they came in like 80 out of 89. But add up all the populations of those schools, they're a big school. That's how the WIAA does things. They base it strictly on student enrollment. I don't know what other criteria they could use, but in the case for hockey this year, when you look at the teams that are in Division I, the teams that are in Division II, there's not a whole lot of people that are real happy with the final product that the WIAA put out. I know there are some of the smaller schools probably are, but overall, I've heard it call a lot of things, and none of them were excellent job.
No, they started with the idea of doing the right thing, and then once they got that idea, they did everything wrong. Because as they've been saying for years, the goal of two divisions is to increase opportunities, but they didn't do that because it's still an 8-team boys tournament. It was 8 teams before, it's 8 now. Now it's just split up differently. They didn't increase opportunity. They didn't increase anything. The losers in this are everybody in Division I. I'm going to love when it gets to seeding time to see Eau Claire Memorial, Eau Claire North, Hudson, Stevens Point, and Wausau West all playing in the same section. It's going to be amazing. That could very well be, that sectional final could be the state championship if you look at the history of the last several years. It's just bad to me. Yes, basing it on population is fine to start. I would like to see this across all the sports where the WI does something like they do in international soccer with promotion and relegation. If you're real bad, you drop down a division. If you're real good, you go up. That would make it harder to schedule if you want to schedule within your division, but that's fine. But overall, the WIA started with the right idea. 2 divisions in boys hockey, and then from there on, they just kind of fouled it up.
Right, and what the coaches, this started with the Coaches Association, and what they had proposed was, 8 teams for Division I and 4 teams for Division II. And the WIAA said, well, no, we can't do that. We always do 4 and 4, which is a lie because there are plenty of sports. Well, plenty. There are several sports out there where they do an 8-team Division I and then 4 teams for each of the smaller divisions. It's not unheard of. They also said, well, it'd be a scheduling nightmare because, we got to do the girls then too. Well, they don't do that with other sports either. They do the boys and the girls tournament separately. All of the excuses the WIAA came up with that this has to be 4 and 4 could easily have been avoided had they wanted to do that. Anything is possible if you go in there with the attitude as, well, let's try this. If you go in the attitude of, no, we can't do that, then this is what you end up with. You end up with a mess.
I think they don't want to deal with hockey as much as they have to. That's just my personal feeling on it. Because of making it four teams for the boys, Division I, Division II, then the girls. And then when they set it up at state, you're not getting that many games. If I remember correctly, is it like Thursday we have, what do we usually have, 4 boys games? Friday we usually have 2 girls games in the, start late morning. And then the evening session has 2 boys games, and then you have the championship games on Saturday. Now, I believe, isn't it this year that there's a difference in the way this is run on Friday?
This year, you're going to have the Division II boys play on Thursday morning, the early session. Girls will be played Thursday night. The boys Division I will be played Friday night. At 9:30 Saturday morning, the Division II boys will play, followed by the girls, followed by the boys Division I. When you add up all the games, you end up with one less game than what you had last year at being played that week.
But you look at, they also don't get the gate there for the early Friday session because that's been eliminated.
Correct. There's 1 fewer games and 1 fewer sessions. Last year there were, the 2 sessions on Thursday, the 2 sessions on Friday, and then the championship session on Saturday. So they will lose 1 session of gate. And will that be? It's not going to be made up by increased attendance on Saturday for the championships.
No, absolutely not. You're talking about winners and losers. One of the losers in this was Milton, the Redhawks. They've got a co-op team. They have 1 player from Fort Atkinson. 1 player who's an okay player, I guess, is what I'm hearing. But they took all that whole enrollment from Fort Atkinson and added that on to what Milton has and called it a Division I team. Going to put them in the same sectional as in USM and all the other big boys.
Well, we've talked about state tournament for many years. Change of venue. Not everybody, well, actually, most people are not completely happy with the clamshell, the Alliant Energy Center. There's got to be a place they can put it. Then we're talking about 2 divisions, and Burglar, this was back from when we first started. I know that the big talk was if we got to 96 teams, then we'll go to 2. We'll have 64 in Division I and 32 in Division II. Never got there. I think the closest we got was like 93 or something like that, and it's regressed down now to 83. So, we're going the wrong way. And also talk about the consolation games, but nobody wants to do that because apparently the other sports don't have that, so hockey can't have it either. So, there's a lot of things that we would like to see, but, we're not in charge, and I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, I think we topped out at 93, and then Economowalk joined Kettle Moraine McWanaco, and that dropped it down to 92, and then every year since then we've had another couple of teams joining up or falling out completely. DeForest Point at Lodi didn't have a team a couple years ago. But I think they're back now. But there was a year there they didn't have a team, and the number just keeps going down.
Yeah, we lost Stevens Point Pacelli this season.
How many years ago has it been since we lost Milwaukee Pius? Weren't they a co-op with Catholic Memorial?
Yeah, they were probably 6-8 years ago, I want to say. But I mean, I remember when Cale Polituski and I think Mako coached them as well back in like the mid 2000s, and they always did pretty well. They end up their year with 14, 15 wins, and they had a pretty good program. And then it just, I don't know. I think ever since like maybe probably 9-10 years ago, things have just been kind of slowly dying off for a variety of reasons. People can't afford to do it anymore. The cost is getting prohibitive. I don't know. I talked to somebody, they said, it just seems like the athletic directors too are just, hockey's kind of a weak stepsister, and they really don't put much thought or care into it. And I mean, that definitely doesn't help our game either. So, I mean, there's a lot of bad things, a lot of good things too, but we always hope that it could be better.
I believe we're down to 83 teams.
Yeah, I think my note says 51 in Division I and 32 in Division II. If they wanted to make that lower division an even 32 teams, so they could have 4 8s. So, and that makes sense, but we had a lot of hubbub early in the year when people found out who was going to go where, and Burglar probably one of the big surprises to a lot of people, but the way it was explained makes sense, is Superior in Division II.
Well, I mean, I say this is all based on student enrollment, and Superior has gone down. I hate to say it, but it's gone down steadily since I graduated. I mean, it's just been a spiraling downward trend since I left town. But I mean, they're a small school. They're one of the smaller schools now. The small schools, or any school, had the option to opt up. I believe Notre Dame opted up. University School opted to play in Division I. Any school had the option to do that. Superior decided that they would just, let the chips fall where they may. Wherever the WIA put them, that's where they would go. And we went through this, not in hockey, but in football when we lived in Antigo. When they started the football state championships, I think Antigo and DC Everest split like the first 5 or 6 state championships. That was when all Division I, and then Everest stayed strong for a while. Antigo slipped a little bit, and by the time Antigo got back up there to making the playoffs again, they had expanded the playoffs into more divisions, and it's like, and all of a sudden Antigo's in there, and they're at Division II because of the size, and it's like they were all up in arms, like, we should be Division I, we should be at Division I. Well, they lost in their second game anyway, so it didn't make any difference. But I mean, population size just dictates that kind of stuff. Same thing happened some of the schools up north when they rearranged the Wisconsin Valley Conference and created the Great Northern. There were a lot of supporters, moneyed supporters for like Rhinelander that wanted to keep Rhinelander in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, and they said, if you guys leave the Wisconsin Valley Conference, we're not going to donate money anymore. So if you recall that first year of the Great Northern Conference, Merrill was in the Great Northern Conference and Rhinelander stayed in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. And if you look at the Great Northern, all those schools are around Rhinelander. It's like Rhinelander's right in the middle of it, and your farthest trip is 45 miles down to Antigo. They stayed in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, where their closest opponent was in Wausau. Then they still had to go to Stevens Point and Marshfield and Wisconsin Rapids. After 1 year, they said that was really a bad idea. Can we just join the Wisconsin or the Great Northern Conference? And they did, and Merrill got sent back into the Wisconsin Valley Conference. But everybody wants to play in the higher division, do this, but when your size declines, your school declines. I mean, you just got done talking about the Section 1 in the Division 1 with Eau Claire North, Eau Claire Memorial, Hudson, Stevens Point, Wausau West. Superior, I'm kind of glad we don't have to play in that division, in that section. They're going to go up against Hayward and New Richmond and Rice Lake and take their chances there. That was kind of long-winded, roundabout.
No, but I mean, it made a lot of sense, and I think come on, Burglar, you make sense. They talk about the school enrollment and that's how they base their divisions, but sometimes you have to look at youth programs too, but I just suppose that there's no way they can possibly do that.
No, you don't. Yeah, not if you're the WIAA. Add up the schools, add up the numbers. There you go. That's all there is.
Yet you look at Superior. How many Division II schools does Superior play during this season? Maybe do they play New Richmond? You see what I'm getting at? They're going to probably play an almost all Division I schedule, but Division II in the playoffs.
Right, well, at the same time, they're going to play the majority of their games against the Minnesota teams.
Right.
Well, not the majority, probably about half.
So and this is something that some of the coaches, as they look at, they're still going to play the hardest schedules that they can play. Most of the coaches, because they want to see their team improve. But the other argument is you look at like RWD. People for years you always heard, well, look at how hard their schedule is. Their schedule's so weak. Well, as their teams improved, they've been able to get harder teams to play. But when you're a weak team and somebody says, well, you played a weak schedule, but it goes back, what are you able to schedule? Because if you're not somebody that's going to give that other team competition, they don't want to play you. And so it's a catch-22. How do you play tougher teams? Well, you can't play them if they won't put you on your schedule till you prove that you're going to be able to compete. And there's not much you could do about it, and that really has no say so on this Division I, Division II, and it's the cards we've been dealt, and we'll make the best of it, just as the coaches and players will this year, and see how it works.
It's going to be interesting. Didn't the WIA said they're going to do this for 2 years and then take a look at it again?
I think that this was listed as a test thing. Yes, but like Del said, it's going to take a while for the whole Division I, Division II thing. I mean, there are contracts, that teams have had, to play each other. They generally do 2-year things. Like we just saw the tournament that Trasher somehow didn't go to. Over in Eau Claire, traditionally, and it's the tougher teams in the state usually start out there. Notre Dame, Wausau West, Eau Claire Memorial, and Superior.
Right.
Yeah, Superior is now lower division for playoff purposes, but they were still, over there playing those other teams. They lost both games, but that's, it's going to, I don't know, it's going to take a while for the whole 2-division thing to catch on, if it does catch on, if this is how they leave it. But Yeah, until at least for this year, I think teams still have a lot of existing contracts where they're still going to play the same teams.
Well, I'm sure this will be a subject that we touch on a lot during the season, and especially when it gets close to playoff time.
We mentioned that
And
USM, Notre Dame, and Madison Edgewood are all playing up this year, so I started looking through the WIA's School Finder, looking at the enrollments for all the teams in Division One, and the two biggest teams in Division One. I still have two left to go through, but I can't imagine West Salem Bangor is going to break into the list. The two biggest teams in Division One are Superior and Waunakee. So if those three teams didn't opt to play up, Superior and Waunakee would be Division One teams.
Oh, you mean the biggest teams in Division Two are Superior and
Yes, sorry.
okay.
The biggest teams in Division Two are
Okay.
Superior and Waunakee, both above 1,300. They're the only two programs in Division Two above 1,300.
So if USM and Notre Dame hadn't have gone up, then Superior and Waunakee would be
Yes.
Division One.
Yep.
It's interesting. All right, guys, I'm sure, like I said, we'll talk about this more as the season goes on. So, anything else you guys got to get off your chest tonight?
Well, as a consequence of this whole two-division malarkey, we did not feel that ranking, and this has been, since we started doing the girls' top 10, this has really been an ongoing conversation. Ranking 10 teams out of 32 in boys' Division 2 does not make sense. Just like ranking 10 teams out of, how many girls' teams are there this year?
About the same.
Yep.
About the same, about 32.
Yeah,
Girls'
about
teams.
32. It just doesn't make sense. You're ranking a third of the state. So this year we have changed all of the top 10s to a top 6.
actually, guys, there's 28 girls teams.
So yeah, we've changed all three top 10s to top 6s. 18 teams will be ranked every week. There'll still be honorable mentions if ties should occur or there's extra votes coming in. But we've changed the top 10 to a top 6, which will take getting used to for everybody.
Okay, Michael, do you have anything you wanted to say?
Nope, I was just nodding my head at Bill because that's pretty much what I was going to talk about. And yeah, I mean, it seems weird to have not have top 10s, but yeah, I mean, historically, on a 27 or 28 or 30 team program, it's hard to always get 10 really good teams. I think we had some issues where 9 and 10 were like 500 teams, and a top 10 team probably shouldn't be a 500 team. So just the way it is, top 6 will be pretty competitive, and I'm sure there will be a lot of trash talk for those on the outside and hoping to get on the inside. And Burglar, you can get your guys over at SE to get that graphic turned into a top 6. It'd be much better than the one I had.
It's been done for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the top 6 now. And we have, I mean, that's not just something, we didn't just make it up. I mean, we have empirical data to back that up. If you took the top, then this is no offense to the teams that are at the bottom of the top 10. If you took the top 10 for the girls for the last 6 years and compared the top 5 teams versus 6 through 10, compare their records head to head, it would be very one-sided for the top 5. But if you did the same thing in the boys' top 10, which was a sample of, most of the time like 88 teams, not 32, the difference between the top 5 and 6 through 10 wasn't that stark. So going to 6 with the smaller number of teams in each division just makes sense, where we were not going to have the difference between 1 and 10 being quite so lopsided among the ranked teams.
So in other words, Junior, what you're saying is we're not apologizing.
I'm not.
Okay.
I was just hoping. Go
it's
ahead.
trash.
Go
I
ahead.
just wondered.
Let's all talk at once.
Okay,
I
let's
just
talk at
wondered
once.
if we're sending all of our complaints to MJ this year instead of Trasher.
No, MJ doesn't check his email often enough.
Boy, you're right about that. I'm still
I-
trying to put together this house here, folks. I mean, it's a work in progress since August.
And
Yeah,
logs
you
or
got
what?
those green walls. You better paint them.
Yeah, this is the spare room.
yeah, MJ
This is
MJ found his podcast headset about 30 minutes before we started recording, even though we were supposed to record last week. So
Hey, better late than never, right? And Junior, I'm just hoping that you can pass along the meaning of the word empirical. That got something to do with the evil empire?
no, but I'll let you look it
No?
up. I'll let you Google it.
Thank you.
okay. All right, guys. Anything else? Okay, sounds good to me. Well, did the best we could this week. Want to thank Brianna Seibel for joining the show for a little while. So for Berg Senior, Berg Junior, Delmar, Trasher, I'm Mike Hammett. We'll see you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.